branding is not optional at this point. And I don't hear enough of, here's who I am, here's my story, here's how I got there. All those things are part of branding and part of becoming an authority, part of becoming a thought leader in your industry. And those things make you stand out. And that can start with simple things like articles.
Welcome to The Growth Switch, the podcast where we dive into the strategies, struggles, and breakthroughs of bold business leaders. I'm your host, Jules Fox, growth strategist and lead content creator at Résumé. I'm here to uncover how today's top brands are scaling, overcoming challenges, and unlocking sustainable success. Now, for those of you just tuning in, Résumé helps grow successful brands with comprehensive, hands-on support for sales, business development, and performance marketing. So go ahead and drop growth into the comments if you want to learn how to do that. Today, we have a special guest, Martin Rowinski. He's the CEO of Boardsi, a super awesome company, which does exactly what it sounds like. A great title. Author of The Corporate Matchmaker and the book Beyond the Title, and a global thought leader. He helps executives transition from corporate leadership into high impact board and advisory roles. Martin, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I really appreciate it and excited to chat with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Super glad that you're here. All right. So you have this unique company. It does something pretty amazing by connecting really high impact people with really high impact companies. Where'd you get the idea for something like this?
Well, I mean, it's now been over 7 years, but I've done a lot of consulting over years. So been there, done that. I've pivoted with different industries. 2008 was a terrible year for owning a mortgage company. That was me. So had to pivot from that and got back into consulting. And then after that consulting contract, I was really looking from the experience in consulting, being the guy behind helping companies get sold to publicly traded company or go public, having no equity and just seeing the success, which was great. Good pat on my back. Financial success, part of it would have been great too. So I started looking for advisory roles and board roles and just didn't really see any great service out there. So got back together with some of my partners from past ventures, and we decided to fill the gap with a service that does just that, building it, but differently than your typical recruiter. We're definitely changed the game in recruitment and simplified it. And of course, with some AI in the background, and now with every industry attacking with AI is just so powerful now and so helpful. We of course are using it even more and more. So
yeah, absolutely. Now that's interesting that you're still using AI with such high-end executives, which may often require human touch. So how do you walk that line? How do you blend the two of them?
Yeah, so I think what we came up with the name hybrid AI, right? So it is a hybrid. I don't think, especially in recruitment, you can totally disengage the human touch. You're not going to get away with that. So we just use AI for different particular, mainly for, I would say, filtering and finding who are the top executives that would be a good match for this new client that we just got, company that's seeking. And, we get a lot of details in our onboarding of exactly who they're looking for, the type of a person. So that just allows us to really go through the thousands of executives in our network and narrow that search down. And then we can go in with a human and really look at the details and really make the choice, yes or no, this is a good person or no, and really define that. So that's the use of AI. And of course, since we've been around for 7 years and we truly believe that learning fuels innovation. So we've been learning for 7 years and we're not going to stop learning. And we've been innovating and changing the game, bringing different features in. And some of these features are just on the back end of our platform for our admins, for our recruiters, for our connection makers. And some of these tools and I would say add-on features are for the executives. When we originally started, it was a simple connection platform and showed the executives, the companies that are seeking advisors or board members, they can simply apply to those. Then we would filter through that. And always on the back end, we're looking for somebody maybe that hasn't even applied, but we know they'd be a good fit. So we make the match happen anyway, see if the company is interested. From there, we have grown into board preparation services because we really realized that executives need continuous education, continuous learning. Not all the members that we had in our database had specific education in what does it take to be a board member. Just because you're a successful CEO doesn't mean you know what it takes to be a board member, or you know how to be a good advisor. You have to separate that CEO mindset and now become an advisor or a board member mindset. So we have now governance courses, cybersecurity courses. There's a new one coming out in the next couple of weeks, but altogether, I think there's 4 active courses now and a 5th one on the way. And then we also realized that executives need to stand out. I've been doing executive branding for myself, doing shows like I'm on your show right now. And I've done a lot of writing. As you mentioned, my book, The Corporate Matchmaker, was the first book. I have a couple of chapters in some other books that I took part in, and a couple of other shorter books that I've written. But the big one that's now coming out, should be on Amazon any day now, is Beyond the Title. And we can get into the details of that one. But all those things are part of branding and part of becoming an authority, part of becoming a thought leader in your industry. And those things make you stand out. And that can start with simple things like articles. So now we do executive branding. We have created a special website, and that's where we get to feature our executives' biographies. And we allowed them to write thought leadership articles and get those published just as well. So really get them exposed and make them stand out so they can enrich their career.
Yeah. I mean, thought leadership is a hot buzzword in the industry, but it's also the thing that's really differentiating people these days. So I think that
Yes.
that's a really bright way to go about it. So, all right, we've got this book Beyond the Title. It's about to come out. Tell us a little bit more about that book. What could people expect to find inside there?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote it, so I'm going to say it. It's a must read. You got to go get it. No, but seriously, we are in a year that resume is just not enough. Putting up your skills is not enough. And branding is not optional at this point. If you're not doing it, you're behind.
Mhm.
If you're getting started, great, good job, congratulations. Keep doing it. Don't stop. Branding is not a one time, write an article and you're done forever. It's a continuous writing of articles. There are so many resources out there where it's going to cost you time, but maybe not money, or resources that it's going to cost you some money, but you'll be getting a lot of help. We're one of them, and it's not a lot of money. And there's, of course, options that you look at and you're like, oh my gosh, that's way too expensive. I don't want to spend that much money. So there's a lot of different options, a lot of different ways to get your book written, get your book published, and really put what's in your head out there in deep thought. Because again, resume is just not enough. The whole ego of look at all the great things I've done and look at my skill sets. That's not enough. What companies are doing now is they're Googling your name. They're trying to find exactly what I just described. They want to get to know that executive that they could possibly be interviewing. And doing podcasts like we're doing right here is a great way to also get out there, because not only are people reading what you wrote, but they get to see you. They get to hear you. They get to see, are you an authentic leader? Are you a transparent leader? How you sound, how you think. And they really get a good sense for who they're about to interview before they even interview you. So their decision is already pretty close to being made. And of course, you can still screw up an interview, but they already have a really good idea of who they're about to talk about. So Beyond the Title is, I guess you can say, a blueprint of branding. So I explain a lot of different things. There's a whole chapter about LinkedIn, how you should write your profile, what it should look like. Don't miss all the things. I mean, we have executives still right now, and I'm sure if you're on LinkedIn, you've seen it. They don't even have a profile picture, or they have a profile picture that's their dog.
Yeah.
This isn't Facebook. This isn't Instagram. It's a professional network. It should be a professional picture. And they have tools like the newsletter. You can start writing a newsletter on LinkedIn. So there's those things. I also dive into how to write your UVP, unique value proposition, how to really dig in. I have a whole worksheet that will help you out with that. If you decide you want to start being on podcasts, at least set up an environment that's podcast friendly. If you want to run your own podcast, maybe you want to set up a studio. I suggest certain cameras, mics, nothing that's going to break people's bank. Yes, you can break a bank if you want to go really pro, but there's ways to get around that too. So, I mean, literally from start to finish, it's a book about branding, and it's a book that explains why branding is important. And that's why the title is Beyond the
I'm
Title.
excited to read it, honestly. All right. So, a lot of times when people are first starting out, an advisor would tell them how to get their foot in the door. But at this point in their career, after they've achieved success, proven themselves in the field, the door is wide open. It's no longer about getting your foot in the door. And there's a mindset shift that needs to happen. So what's that biggest mindset shift that you see that these leaders need to make when they're moving from operations into governance?
Yeah. So the biggest mind shift is a lot of great operators are hands on and they want to make things happen. They want to jump in, get their hands dirty, and really push the needle. What you need to realize as an advisor, and especially as a board member, that's not your job. Your job is to look at whatever is being presented to you, offer solutions, and step back.
Yeah.
You're not in there managing. You're no longer a manager. You're no longer a CEO. You're just there to offer solutions. So that's the biggest struggle. And you mentioned the door is wide open, but I will say, and I'm going to go back to branding, the door may be wide open, doesn't mean people are going to come through it.
Yeah, good point.
You got to get the crowd, and the only way to do it is go expose yourself, be authentic, and keep in mind that branding is not about ego.
Mhm.
It's not about, look at me, I'm so great. Just be authentic, be you, and expose your thinking of leadership, expose your what you can bring to the table, but don't just list your skills and list your accomplishments and, put a spotlight on yourself in that way. It's not vanity. It's just be you, be authentic, and people love that. People love stories. There's a chapter about storytelling. So storytelling is great. I mean, how do you mostly remember people? By what they've accomplished or what it took, the story, what it took to get there,
Mhm.
the fail that they had.
Yeah.
I don't know if this story is totally true or not, but FedEx was on the brink of not making payroll and he goes and gambles and puts all the money, last bit of money that he had, and ends up winning so you can cover payroll. But that's the story I heard, and that's the story that sticks to me. And it's like, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So again, don't know if that's true, but it's the stories when you hear them, especially from the leader himself, of the fails and how they recovered, how they pivoted, what built their resilience. Storytelling really hits people hard, and that's who they remember. That's what they remember.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge fan of Joseph Campbell and the 3 act structure and the hero model. And in that, you have a hero, and a lot of people I think see themselves as the hero of the journey. But at this point in their life, they're more the mentor. And Donald Miller in his story brand, he really took up, modernized that for companies. And I think what you're doing is that for people. Is that you were the hero of your journey, and you still are the hero, but now you're coming in as the mentor. Now you're coming in as the guide, and that it's still your place to tell stories and be relatable and be an actual human being. But it's your job now to help other people, other heroes, and help
Yeah,
become their champion.
absolutely. And, it's a journey and you're building your legacy, if you want to look at it that way. And how do you want people to perceive you? How do you want people to see you? But you hit on a really good point. It is a journey. That is absolutely what it is. And a journey is full of ups and downs. And great leaders look at fails as stepping stones to success.
Mm.
It's not a fail and quit and go hide in a corner and cry about it. No, it's a learning moment for you to really figure out what's the next step towards success. And journey also, we love that word because journey, getting onto a board seat is not a matter of, simplicity of, oh, I'm going to join Boardsi and they're going to find me a board seat. It's a journey any way you look at it. That's why we have the tools to help you along the journey so you can better yourself and be a better candidate, and then expose yourself with branding, writing articles to make our job of finding you a interview easier.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard a good piece of advice, which is if you're going to make mistakes, if you're going to fail hard, fail fast, fail forward, do it while you're younger. And I think that what you're suggesting here is like having that story that like, man, I had such a great fail to earn myself this place, to earn this position. But, as you are, applying for a board seat and really getting towards these interviews, now is not the time for failure or mistakes anymore. So what are some of these common mistakes that you see people making? You see these leaders make when they're trying to land a big role, an advisory role?
I still see what I've been talking about.
Yeah.
Ego
Yeah.
gets in the way. People listing their skills,
Mhm.
talking about their accomplishments. And I don't hear enough of, here's who I am. Here's my story. Here's how I got there. I think people are still afraid to really be transparent and be vulnerable. And What if people don't like my story? What if all they want, they think that all they want to hear is success? Well, that's what most people already think. They look at you and they're like, oh, that guy's so successful. It's so easy for him to say these things. Well, that didn't come overnight. It's been 7 years of resilience. It's been 7 years of getting beat up and 7 years of waking up every morning motivated.
Hmm.
It takes a toll on you, but you do it. You do it because you love it. And that resilience you've built from those moments of failure is what builds you strong. But people already see success. So you don't need to talk about success. So the things that you have overcome are the things that people want to hear, because guess what? They might be looking for an advisor because they're struggling with something. That's why they're looking for a new board member or an advisor, because they've hit a point of, how do we break through this? And now if they heard your story and they're like, oh my gosh, what we're dealing with, that guy dealt with that or very similar to that. That's the guy I want to talk to right now. And maybe he's the right person. So I think exposing, being vulnerable, being transparent, telling your story has and does carry a lot of weight.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not about making the mistake or failing. I mean, like you're talking about, it's just showing up again and again and again. And everybody else that decided to drop off along the way, everybody else that decided not to show up because it got too hard, because they were overwhelmed, those are the people who don't have companies anymore. Those are the people who are not in that business
Yeah.
anymore.
And if they're your competitor, they did you a favor.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, we hear a lot about uncertain markets. We hear a lot about, man, it's so tricky these days. We have all these tricky social, political elements going on. So, what is one of the things that your company is currently struggling with as far as acquiring new clients, the absolute best clients that you want to be with?
I mean, every company struggles with something, right? And you got to find your niche when it comes to marketing. You got to figure out, and I mean, we've tried it all. I mean, you wouldn't think I would tell you this. We tried direct mail.
Yeah.
We figure, hey, direct mail is old school. We're going to, get hold of these old school executives. They'll be surprised and shocked that they're going to get a piece of letter. I mean, that was one of the biggest fails we did. So
But you tried it.
it
And you
didn't
didn't
work,
know
but
what
we
it was
tried
gonna
it.
work until you tried it.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, we've tried it all, and every social media you can think about, we've tried it, and just hone in the ones that are working, hone in on the ones that are bringing the right executive talent, and more importantly, our probably biggest challenge is finding the companies that are looking for advisors or board members. So we have a lot of tools these days. There's a lot out there, a lot of signals that tell us that, oh, this company might be looking for a new board member or advisor, and we have pretty easy ways to reach out to them. So yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, these are tools that we not that long ago had no access to in the city. They
Yeah,
didn't exist.
exactly.
Yeah. All right. So how can people interact with you? If it's a company who needs to hire somebody, how can they interact with you? If it's a job seeker who's looking for a board or advisory position, how do they find you?
Yeah, the best way is our website, boardsi.com, boardsi.com. And when you land on that page, there's two options you can go. One is for executives. So if you're looking to join as a executive onto our network, take advantage of our education, take advantage of our branding, go there. You can read all about it, everything that we do. And then there's a schedule call. Just schedule a call with one of our reps. They'll talk to you. They'll explain to you how the whole program works. On the other side, if you click the other section, which is company section, that will explain to you what we do for the companies. Same thing. Click schedule. You'll be talking to our B2B team that helps companies basically onboarding them. They'll go through the same process. They'll ask you all the questions of exactly who you're looking for in onboarding, and then I will plug you into our system and let the beautiful magic start happening.
Perfect. And if viewers, listeners, go ahead and just look down below. You're going to find all of the links to Boardsi. You're also going to find the links to the books. You can check out that new book, Beyond the Title, and you can check out his other book, The Corporate Matchmaker, as well. Martin, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. This was awesome.
Thank you. Likewise.